Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Vintage Races Roundtable. I'm Larry Seidlinger, the Executive Director here at Lincoln County Television. And I want to thank you folks at home, the viewers, for making this show one of our most successful shows we've done. We're going on 2 years now. This is episode 21. And today I would like to dedicate this show to our longtime show historian, Ken Lane, who has been our racing historian since this show started. Ken was the man behind the scenes that brought us so many facts and figures and all the info, and it was just, he was the makings that made a lot of this stuff happen, and we're going to dedicate this show to him. I'd like to introduce our guest today, Vernon Hodgkins, longtime Hall of Fame racer, Dale Chadbourne from Woolwich, Maine, Wiscasset, Maine, okay, and the pride of Bremen, Maine, on Zoom by way of Leesburg, Florida, Teddy Polino. To our host for the day, Ken Minot, the race promoter and track announcer, general manager at Wiscasset Speedway, and Hall of Famer Pete Silva to my left. So guys, take it away.
Yeah, hey Pete, here we are again, starting off season number 3.
Unbelievable.
And first of all, we got to thank you guys for making it such a success and letting us continue to do this. I couldn't do this show without Pete. He does all the legwork of getting this thing together. And I figured we'd kick off another season by taking a quick look back at last year, some of the guests that we have brought in here over the past year, and obviously get your thoughts on the loss of Ken Lane. He was a big part of the show, but I know he was a good friend of yours.
For me, my small part of the show, he was the heartbeat of the show for me. I met him accidentally. He posted a picture of my father online. I had no idea who Ken Lane was, a picture I'd never seen, and I reached out to him, and it seemed like 3.5 minutes later we'd been friends for life. But when you took the initiative to talk to Vanessa about potentially doing this show, and she came to me, and I realized we were going to do the show, then I kind of went into a panic about what do I do to...
Where do you find the history?
Yeah,
right.
Where do I find the knowledge? And thankfully I'd met Ken Lane, and I mean, he was waiting for me to talk to him about doing this, and Ken took the initiative to take the time and spend the money to buy into every archive of every major newspaper in the state of Maine. And every time we gave him a name, he'd find hundreds or thousands of articles on each guest. And I can't imagine the hours he put in to making sure we were successful. And Steve Pellerin made a post, and Sandy Haley made a statement. How do you replace him? You don't. Just do the best you can. Yep. And I know how much everybody appreciated him, and I'm just so thankful we had him for as long as we did. His son David sent me a list of his accomplishments over the years, and Larry's going to post it at the end of the show for our friends and viewers to read, and you'll realize the depth of the person we're talking about, and we were lucky enough to have here for 2 years.
Yeah, much more to Ken Lane than on the surface, for sure.
Yeah, you look over and he looks like a little happy hippie over there in the corner, and then when you meet him, you realize the incredible depth, knowledge, intelligence, and compassion. Very inquisitive.
Yeah. And ironically, looking back at the guests we've had over the past year, a year ago we kicked off season 2 with Bob Bailey, Bill Penfold, and Ken Lane sitting in for Bob Harrison was supposed to be there that day.
He is so humbled all the time. To think that we've thought enough of him to let him even do it. We're sitting here thrilled to death he's doing it. But to sit at the end of the table, to him that was a lifetime highlight, just to participate with us.
Yeah.
Just appreciated it.
And you talk about the importance of historians. We had kind of a unique show in season 2, getting Steve Pellerin and Paige and Sheehan.
Charlie Sheehan. You know, obviously, Steve Pellerin is the foundation, I think, of Maine historians, mm-hmm. and Ken Lane worshipped him and idolized him and just appreciated everything he did, and I think it gave him motivation to do what he did. I think, as a racing community, to have Steve Pellerin and Ken Lane even though Ken's gone, we were just fortunate. I mean, they
You were
approached,
blessed.
Yeah, but they approached it differently, but they completed everything we needed, and obviously Paige and Charlie and Norm Steves to that point are following in those footsteps. Luckily for us.
Yeah, and then we follow that up with one of the probably the most unique and laughable show we had when we had the three ladies in here.
Oh my word!
Phyllis Walston-Hume, Gail Libby, and Rita Darbo.
Yeah. I was nervous it was going to have to be X-rated, but they did pretty good. but you talk about history. Those people covered from the 50s right up until recent times, and every one of them has contributed to our sport and still doing it, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, we're very lucky.
Yep, 3 stars from Beech Ridge: Willie Elliott, Jim McClure, and Bob Randall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
His tremendous history, and McClure really, he did a great job talking there. And Willie, I mean, I've said this 100 times. I know these people were successful, but when Ken Lane puts the accumulation of what they did in front of me, every one of these people are superstars. Every one of them.
Well, and the importance of his work and research, I think, helped push Willie over the edge. Willie will be going into the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame this November.
Yeah, when you put it in paper and then go to the Hall of Fame committee and give the speech, it's over.
It's a no-brainer.
It's and actually, Regine Knowles, we've put the first woman in by herself in history.
Yeah.
And we've gone off, and it's always been about drivers. And now we got car builders, chassis builders.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we just keep moving forward. And a lot of it's because of Ken's getting the knowledge and the information. Those people aren't in the daily newspaper for us to read about.
Yeah.
But they certainly are a critical part of all of our successes as we move forward. And Ken brought that to the forefront.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can continue it.
Then St. Clair family, followed up by the Racing Ralph Nason. That puts you guys to the test in the editing department, didn't it?
It's always a challenge, but that might have been a bigger one.
I didn't know how they felt about it when they left here, and on the way home they were reaching out saying it was a blast and they wanted to do another one. And I didn't realize the extent that Bob had with Ricky Craven in his career right up until he left. And I reached out to Craven and they wanted to do another show involving Ricky. So maybe that's on the schedule.
And then finally, and I know we'll get to you guys, obviously this is why we're here today, to talk with you and Teddy, and but the Expo show, what a success that was, to have Johnny Clark, Jeff Taylor, and Mike Rowe. Little help from Steve Perry as well for not only letting us do the show there, but also sitting in as your co-host.
We were very fortunate with both Augusta shows. The last show we had 3 people. Jeff's not a big talker.
Yeah.
And Mike, sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. And Johnny, he's pretty good. But you don't know what to expect. And we talked about it earlier. Every question we asked those guys, they answered with a story. It couldn't have been any better.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been any better.
Yeah.
Well, you guys had a hard act to follow this year after last year.
Yeah.
Right.
With that Andy St. Terre and
Brad
Joe Bessie
Layton,
and
Brad Layton.
Brad Layton.
Yeah.
That was a hard act to follow, and I thought you topped it anyway.
But anyway, so here we are,
Yeah.
starting off episode 21, season 3. We head back to the Midcoast for 3 legendary racers. 2 of these guys are members of the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame. All 3 of them are inaugural members of the Wiscasset Speedway Hall of Fame. So again, pleasure to have you guys here. Teddy, how have you been?
I've been fine, thank you.
Vern,
Yes.
I'm glad we brought you down from Lewiston to join us today, my friend.
Yes. Glad to be here.
What are you thanking him for? It took me 2 months to get him to do it.
Yes. Well, he's another guy
A year ago you
I had
asked
to get his sons to threaten his life, I
waiting
believe,
to
to
see
do
if
it.
he got another better deal.
Yeah.
And Dale, we had you on episode 4 of the Roundtable. How about that? And I'm glad you're back here. And we always try to bring guys together that have a common thread. And you guys were all 3 there and all racing together and against each other when Wiscasset Speedway opened in '69 and into the early '70s. Couple of you, your racing careers were relatively short, but you were at it for an awful long time. But Vern, I guess we'll start with you, like we always do. What put a steering wheel in your hand, and how did it all start?
Actually, I started a long time ago when Oxford Plains was dirt. But I only raced 3 times. Then somebody stole the parts off my car.
I don't
It was a
think
good car, too. It was a 41 Ford four-door. Nice car.
I don't think a lot of the viewers, including anybody at this table, knew you raced on the dirt at Oxford Plains Speedway. Was that the 50s or 60s? 50s.
Probably either late 50s or early 60s.
Tell the audience who built the car for you.
Bob Babb.
Another Hall of
I
Famer.
worked for Bob in the woods.
Yep.
And because he had a car, a B car, racing at Beech Ridge, and he built that one, and he raced his B bomber at Oxford.
Yeah.
He finished first, and I finished second.
Good guy to build your first car.
Was
That
you
guy's-
smart enough to let the boss finish first?
Not really. So I'm like Tony Stewart, I'd take my mother out. For that.
Where'd you come up with the number 49? That's that's your number forever. How you know?
That was my wife's idea.
Yeah.
I wanted 9, but of course I couldn't get just plain 9, so 59, 69, 49.
I mean, what was there a reason behind the thinking on it?
Yeah, not really.
Is that how old you were when you started?
No. How old I was when I started at Oxford? Probably 21, 22.
But not only did you run the same number, you ran the same font. Did you have the same stencil for your entire career? Because I don't think the font on that 49 ever changed.
Well, that's because my son made that number.
Yeah.
Not these guys. One in Massachusetts. But
I remember seeing a picture of you
Equal
holding that
opportunity guy.
stencil up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if that was the same one your entire career.
I still got that already ready to go.
Yeah. But you've got a long career. You raced for well over 40 years, didn't you?
Uh,
I don't know. I got done 3, 4, 5 years ago.
And you're 87 now?
Yeah. Maybe it's 50 years. It might be 50 years. Vernon.
I was still racing when I was 80.
Yeah.
You started when you're 20. Do the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
That's
that's,
a little
well
more
over
than-
40.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
We'll get to you in a moment.
Last
but
car,
Teddy,
last car I raced was Wisconsin's pace car.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. You drove that for us once, didn't you?
Yeah. That wasn't much for car.
Teddy, I don't want to leave you hanging there down in sunny, warm Florida, but what got you started? Did you start racing in '69 when Wiscasset opened?
Yeah, I just love cars. I was always had some kind of cars, but I didn't come from a racing family, a racing community. I lived at the end of a dead-end street, Dormick Road, and I think probably 75% of the people there were fishermen. And that's what I was a fisherman. But I went to the races at Beech Ridge with Bill Bailey and Bobby Kimmick one time. I was probably 16, 17 then. And just to watch them guys go around there, and just the sounds of the car, smell the gas, Jesus, there was no way I could do it. I mean, I didn't even have a driver's license then. I said, I can't never do that. But then I heard Wiscasset was opening up, and we went over and sat in the stands and watched the races, and I went right home, got me a car, and put it together.
Is that where you met Kenny Lund and started your relationship with him?
It is. That was when they opened that track up. Kenny came down from Wyndham with a good friend of his, Everett McKinney, and they finished 1-2 all time. I mean, everybody was bitching about Kenny Lund. Oh, he's got too much motor. You got too much motor and all this stuff. But I knew it was in the handling of the car. And Kenny and I got to be good friends. I was the only one that wasn't bitching about him, to tell you the truth. And I went up North Wyndham, visited with him, and he told me a couple of things, but he never told me very much.
I wonder why.
And he told me a couple of things. The second year I raced, I won the first 4 races in a row. That was in 1970. And his friend, Everett McKinney, because they were still coming down, got mad at Kenny because he thought Kenny was telling me more than he was telling Everett. And they got in an argument, and Everett said, I'm going back to Beech Ridge. He wouldn't come back down.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, Kenny won the first 2 championships in the hobby division, right?
He did. I come in second year. He was first and I was second.
Yeah. And where did you come up with the number 7? Your first car was number 7. Where did you come up with that number?
It's always been my favorite number. And when I called Wolford up about, getting a number, I says, can I have 7? He says, yeah, nobody else got it.
Nice. And your first hobby car had a nickname. What was that? Was it like the Bluebird Special or something like that? Or maybe somebody else named it that before you did?
Wasn't announcer's name back then? Bill Costa?
Yeah, Bill Cost. Yeah, he was the first announcer. Yeah.
He called me Mad Teddy Blina. He said he's fine for a few less, but soon someone would hit him or something, boy. It's just away he'd go.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. Well, you found success right off the bat, and we're going to dig into some of that in today's show. But Dale, we as I said, we had you on episode 4, and I guess we can. The name escapes me all of a sudden. The guy who got you into racing,
Delmer Stinson.
It's Delmer
Del
Stinson's
Stinson.
fault. Yeah, Del Stinson.
Yep.
Yeah, crewman, that still blows my mind. You blew me away when you told me that, because in the 70s, I used to go, when it was still dirt, we used to go to Beach Ridge every Sunday, and Del was, you pick out favorites always, and always liked him. You started at 15 years old?
Somewhere around there, I don't know.
Is that when you were helping Del, or you started racing at 15?
No, that's when I helped Del.
Yeah. Did you live in the same neighborhood or something?
Well, they kept the car down the road, and every night I'd hear the car start up, and they'd, do set time in or unloading the car or something. So I'd hop on my bicycle and head down the road, try to find it, because I didn't know where they were. Well, finally, after about 4 or 5 attempts of that, I figured out what direction they were, and I made it there and just started working and fit it in.
Do you think you would have ended up in racing if that little chance thing ever happened?
Oh yeah, that's why I was looking for the car.
Yeah.
When we lived in Arizona, there were 4 or 5 racetracks close, and we went to the races almost every night. And once you smell the fumes and.
Like Teddy says, once you get that fume in your system and in your veins, you can't help yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You ain't gonna get over it either.
No, especially if you've won, you're done. How do you get from Arizona to Woolwich?
We moved from Woolwich to Arizona for 2 years and then moved back.
Okay.
My father was in World War II, Battle of the Bulge, where they all caught pneumonia.
Yeah.
So his lungs were real bad.
they send everybody to
They
Arizona.
took part of his lungs out and shipped him to the dry climate.
Yeah, I hear that conversation a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to some more of it, but your resume here, your racing resume is just, I know people close to you probably know it, but this is crazy. So let's delve into the beginnings a little bit. Tell me about when everybody's got a Ford or a Chevy, somebody shows up with a 60 Pontiac Catalina.
You know why?
Well, I'm assuming it was free.
I owned it, and I'd driven it for 5 years.
That was your family car, your road car?
Oh yeah. And it had a standard shift and a pretty big engine.
Yeah, 389 or 400 or 421 or something.
389, yeah. And I owned it, and I put pipes in it. Billy White put the roll. I put a roll cage in that, and because I didn't weld, I didn't know welder. I put the roll cage in and drove it up the road, and my buddy Billy White welded the cage in it.
What'd your wife think about you putting a roll cage in the family car?
Oh, she wasn't really happy about it, but she got over it.
What did you do for a family car after you?
I've always had one car.
Yeah.
Until now, I don't know.
That's a good thing, huh?
Yeah. But that car, I have a 57 Pontiac convertible, Star Chief convertible, nice car. But I couldn't keep reversing it. That was automatic. And half a month go by and I'd lose reverse. So I found this Pontiac had a standard transmission. I said, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I bought that off a guy down in Wyndham. And sitting in the garage. I didn't pay much for it.
That's a surprise.
Yeah. For that car in low gear, without laboring at all, I'd do over 60 miles an hour in low gear.
So obviously you're a die-hard Pontiac man.
Well, yes. I still got a Pontiac. I like Pontiacs.
I know I've watched a lot of people different times they put Pontiac's motors in modifieds because they were big and stuff, and
Yeah.
nobody ever kept a Pontiac motor together.
Well,
Because there wasn't a
no,
lot available back then. But you never blew.
$5,000. That's it.
You never blew a motor, did you?
No, I run them over till the smoke so bad I had to take them out.
But you had to do something to make a motor stay together when nobody else could. So tell us what you did. I mean,
I buy them off Campbell's junkyard, flip them over, pull the pan off, and check the bearings, see if the bearings worn out. They weren't showing copper. Put it back together and put a new oil pump in it, high volume oil pump.
you make any
But the
kind of oil
2050
pan or anything?
No. Some of the later ones had windage trays.
Yeah. Jesus, how did you dodge that bullet? My word.
Just don't turn them. They got all kinds of power.
Yeah. Pretty impressive.
27 RPMs.
2,700?
2,700 RPMs right down the end of the
Christ, that
straightaway.
sounds like you were driving a diesel.
In the fifth groove.
Did that
Close.
car make any noise?
No. Oh, you know what? Skipper Hodgson asked me, he said, "Bernie, you got mufflers on that car?" And I said, "No, of course not. Nobody runs mufflers." He said, "Well, nobody can hear it either."
Yeah.
I remember that. Teddy, tell me about when you, obviously I'm real good friends with the Rainey family. Tell me about how that came about. What got you together with them? I mean,
That's
obviously
right.
you had
drove- he
tremendous
drove for a
success.
minute, Rainey.
I met Neil at the racetrack. You know, he had a 57 Chevrolet. He was racing at that time too.
57 Chevy?
And I don't know, just kind of got to know him. And I built, in 1974, I built a 64 Chevelle with 327 in it.
Yeah.
And I got it all together, took it to his cassette, tried it out before the races started. And you go in the car and the rear end would bounce right up and down like that, you know. And I didn't go to Neil, but I went to Stan Reserve. I told Stan what it was doing. He gave me 2 shock absorbers. He says, "You put them on the back and you'll be fine." So I did, and I was over there racing it, and I was busy. I mean, I was building a house. I was a commercial fisherman, which did not fit in with racing at all. I mean, it's I don't know how I done it.
Yeah.
And Neil says, "Well, I'll take the car down and service it for us." And he says, "You drive it." I says, "Geez, that sounds like a good idea to me." So he took the car and took it down. He done some things to it, and we just started winning races, right? One right after the other.
Is that the car you won 18 in a row with?
Yes.
Hell, I thought it was the other car. No kidding.
Yeah, and that was,
Car for 2 years and never put a fender on it or nothing.
yeah, 73, and it carried over from the 73 season into 74. And
74, yeah.
yeah, I mean, just talk about the success. Did it feel like everything was clicking at that time? The car was right. Everyone was trying to find something wrong with it. And they even put a bounty up on you.
We were the first ones that I think that really started servicing a hobby car. I mean, the earlier, when the hobby cars, I'd take them home, leave them right on the trailer, wouldn't even take them off, take them over next street. But anyway, we knew the time, the 2 weak points in that car was the timing chain. You had to change the time. We'd change the timing chain about every once a month because it would stretch and it would. And the other thing was the pin in the rear end that held the spider gears in there. If you're having a rear end of pipe, you know what I'm talking about, Dale. Yeah. That pin would wear, and it would the hole would get oblong where it wasn't. That pin would fall out, and we knew that from years before, and we kept an eye on that stuff. We never. I think we blew one motor. We lost one motor during those 2 seasons, 73 and 74. And when that motor blew, and I got in the pit, Neil, he was shaking his head. He says, "I was going to change that timing chain this week. I was going to change that timing chain." That's all he would say.
Did having a bounty on you? I know they put up a big money bounty at the time for the first driver to beat you, and it was Pearly Childs that finally got to you. But was that extra motivation to keep that streak going?
Well, now I think I never thought about it back then, but they put a $25 bounty on me. Anybody could beat me. Well, if they didn't beat me, they should have gave me that $25.
Yeah.
That's spoken like a true fisherman.
Gee, why didn't I tell him I want that $25?
Well, and I said this, I had the honor of inducting Teddy into the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame, and I addressed the crowd and I said, these days, if somebody wins 3 or 4 races in a row, people lose their mind. Can you imagine
He's cheating.
if social media was around for a guy winning 18 races in a row? It's just...
I remember as a kid, I was a young man, I heard about Teddy winning all the time. And I didn't know anything about stock car racing. I wasn't a fan or anything. But I wanted to go see this. And I seen him come around the track, and the inside front right wheel went completely off the ground. I was like, how's he steering that thing?
Yeah.
And he never, I don't think he ever let up on it. It just kept right on coming.
Yeah. And kind of fast forward to kind of put a bow on that, Teddy, what were your thoughts when Steve Rennie built that replica of that car and brought it to Wiscasset's 50th birthday celebration?
Yeah, that Neil and Stevie were, well, Pete, were good people there. I mean, they were bound and determined to get me into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
Stock car Hall of Fame. They were bound and determined to it. And that came up at Wiscasset, and he found that car. Neil, Stevie found it and brought it down and got it painted and took it down to John Marsh, and John Marsh lettered it just like our old car was, identical. I thought that was really something. That was great. The only sad part about that day was Neil get sick at that time and he couldn't come. He didn't show up.
Yeah, no, that was a great tribute and a great thing to celebrate the success that you had with it. So I thought that was awesome.
Picture up here that you sent me, Kim.
Yeah.
Of us all standing on the front stretch of the racetrack, and my cousin Pete's in there, but my cousin Bobby Studley, and that car's off in the background.
Yep, we'll share that picture in the show when they put the show together.
Yeah, you're right. Steve and Neil, great. All of them are. They still speak of you today a lot. Neil talks about you a lot today, every time I talk about him.
Yeah, and Paula's something else too. Paula's a good woman.
So going forward, you move up to the next division, late models. Is that when Richard Moore came on board?
Richard Moore and Richard knew a guy in Portland had a car for sale. It was Hannaford Brothers, the grocery chain was just getting started back then, and one of them boys had a car for sale.
Was that an old Dick Glines car? Was that an old Dickie Glines car?
No, this was before that.
Okay.
And I went up to Richard Moore and I said, he told me, he says, well, the guy's up there's got a car for sale. I said, well, you want to buy it for me? He goes, no, he said, I'm not going to buy it for you. And I said, what about going halves on it? He goes, yeah, we said we could do that. So we went up and got that car, and it wasn't what we should have bought anyways. It was built heavy. He had a lot of iron in that thing to beat and bang around with up Beach Ridge. And had a 327 in it. Of course, Richard got rid of that. He had to build a 400. Peter Turf, his son-in-law, Peter, I don't think this is his son-in-law. Yeah, it is. Peter Turf. He built the engines. And we ran that car that year, and we never done nothing with it. So that winter, Neil and I took it all apart and built, we took the spring adjusters off in it and what stuff we could save, and built a new car. Built a 65 Chevelle.
You had a 66 or 7 there for a while, didn't you?
66 Chevelle it was.
Yeah.
And we went to Wiscasset, won the first race of the season with it, and one small race. We run a lot of races up Unity. I love Wiscasset, but I love that Unity race.
Yeah, we'll get into a race you won up there that had a little bit of buzz to it. We'll get to that in a minute, but Dale, now how did you fit into this whole thing? When did you guys all race together at any point?
Oh no, we didn't race together. Teddy was up there and we were all back here.
That's like people ask me, did you race with Mike Rowe? Well, yeah. Well, not really. I said I was on the track at the same time he was, but we weren't racing together.
Followed him around.
No, I couldn't follow him.
But yeah, you
Couldn't stay ahead
ran
of him
the hobby
either.
for a couple of years before you jumped up to Chargers, right?
Yeah, I think I ran till 73. I started Chargers, I think.
Yeah.
'73 was your first win in Wiscasset Charger class in a '55 Chevy.
Yep.
You still got it, right?
Yep.
That's impressive. And I'll make this quick. 70 wins as a driver. 83 Charger champion. 86 Charger champion. 99 to 02 Wiscasset Heavyweight Demon champion. 2001 driver championship. And then you go on this other rampage.
Merle Grover.
Merle Grover, Adam, and Mike Moody, and there's what? Must be 100 wins or
Yep.
more there, and another 6 or 8 championships.
Yeah. I think I had to ballpark it because I didn't have the time to sit and count them all, but we got you in the range of around, as a driver and a car owner and crew chief, around 180 wins and,
Yeah, it's got to be.
and 18 championships now.
Don't know. You know more about it than I do. You get the numbers.
Grace, you're making the rest of us look bad, and we thought we did
Yeah.
half decent.
I can't count that high. I don't want that much.
Yeah, it's
That's out of my league.
you know, we had you here before. We touched on some of this stuff, and I'm looking at it again and adding it up there with Merle. Was Grover his father?
Which one?
Brother.
Buster?
Grover.
Yeah, they were brothers.
Yeah,
Buster and Merle were
Buster, I'm
brothers.
sorry, Buster.
Yep.
I've told people my first 2 races in my life in 1970, they used to put me in the back, like I said, to save the field, and there'd be about 30 cars, and Buster would always be back there in a '57 Chevy, and I tried to follow him through traffic one time. He was airborne most of the time for hooking tires. I was about ready to quit after watching him. I said, if this is what I got to look forward to, I don't know if I want to do it, but I tell people he was probably the Dale Earnhardt in that class
Oh,
for
he was
that
a real
era.
man. Yep.
Yeah. Then obviously your son, right? Is Adam your son?
Yes.
Yeah, 50. Well, there's 50 wins here. Now we can add 20
He's got
more.
78
28 more.
He's up to 78 wins now. Yeah.
Jesus.
And now 7 championships.
Yeah. And Mike Moody, of course,
Yeah.
popular guy.
Yeah.
He won a lot of races.
Yeah, 2 championships there.
Mike Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it isn't Junior.
Yeah, he doesn't go by Junior.
No.
That's right.
Yeah.
Young
My
Mike.
word.
Young Mike. Yep. Yep.
My word, incredible. Now, getting back to you there, quiet guy. So you stop in the 60s, well, 50s, but it was casted in the 60s. Your first year on the asphalt, you're in this Pontiac.
Yeah.
You win your first heat race. I just never heard of that, even though it's in a lower division. You start in the rear in the main event.
Isn't that the object, to win you win?
Yeah. And you finish 4th in a photo finish.
Yep.
Then you got 2 wins your first year. That's pretty impressive. 5th in points. Your second year, 2 wins. 3rd in points. Tied for 3rd?
No.
Was there a tie in there for something?
I think there was. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
With us started.
I'll ask him.
Yeah. You-
The first year we been tied with somebody.
okay. Your 3rd year, you win 2 races again. And you lost the point championship by 1 point to Dennis Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the toughest competitors back in that era when you started, Teddy, for sure.
Dennis and I were buddies.
Yeah. Was that over for a couple hours? And then your 4th year, you don't have any wins, but you win the championship.
Yep.
Is that all still in the big old Catalina?
Yes.
I think so.
I don't know. I built a '64 Pontiac Tempest.
I remember that vaguely, but
Yeah.
back, the first 4 years was in the big Catalina?
5 years he raced.
Okay,
Yeah.
so all of that.
Well, I remember I get in that car one day to move it, and I lean back in the seat, and I was watching the floorboard where my feet were, and the seat went back, and the floorboard went like this.
Lifted right up.
Yeah. I guess it's time to build a new car.
Was it rusted out so bad your seat was going to fall on the track?
Yep.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So then you built a Catalina, you built a Tempest.
Built Tempest, yeah.
Did you have much luck with that?
Till I put it in the wall at Oxford. Yeah.
Okay.
It went good.
I didn't realize you raced at Oxford so much.
Yeah.
So I got to add this. So your first year, in your second win, you passed Kenny Lund on the outside.
I did. Yep,
Well,
I did.
that's making a statement. I would say, wouldn't you, Teddy? Passed Kenny Lund on the outside.
I passed him on the outside.
Well, I'm
too.
getting to that. Then the next year, you won a race and passed some guy by the name of Teddy Polino on the outside to win.
Yeah, I must have been running out of gas or something.
No, you just had enough gas on like this.
So obviously you picked two heavyweights.
Yeah.
That's a pretty impressive way to win a race, past two guys of that caliber at that time on the outside. So
No, not at the same time though.
well, no, it's better. It was two different races.
Yeah.
So tell us what made you decide. No, I got to go back. There's one other race you were going to win.
I was going to ask you about it. Ask him about that one.
Somebody told me about a race you were going to win and got to the fourth corner and thought the race was over and decided to stop and let Frank Guptill win the race.
Frank Guptill, yeah.
You had him beat?
Well, we were like this. I mean, first I'd be here, and then he's here. You know how it goes. And I came out of coming out of four, and I looked up there, and that white flag had black spots on it. So I lifted. Of course, I was on the outside. Frank, boom, like that.
So what did he tell you after the race?
I caught him after. He
What did he
said,
tell you?
burn your new glasses. He said you need a green helmet too, because he had a green helmet.
Did he even thank you?
And after, it wasn't too long ago, he was down there one of the summer sessions we had there, and he brought me a checkered flag.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
He lives way up north somewhere.
Well, and I wanted to have you guys talk a little bit too about those early days in the hobby class, where these days we think 25 cars in a feature is a big deal. You guys had 20 cars in 4 separate heats, and there were 60 plus cars in the pit for that one division. So Teddy, what were your thoughts on that?
I was going to say, because we back then, they'd start 36 cars. He'd have sometimes 45, 50 cars there.
Yeah.
And Wolford felt bad for the guys that didn't make the race. So after everything was all over, he'd have a race for the guys that didn't qualify.
Did you probably you guys all
Non-qualified.
ran well enough, so you probably had to start in the rear those days, didn't you?
Oh, I started the rear of 36 cars many, many times.
So,
Absolutely.
okay, obviously great car counts. How long were the races back then? 20 laps?
20 to 25.
So you couldn't really spend much time riding, could you?
Said all they had to do was make me mad and I was gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of tracks back then, that's how it was, car counts, and 25 or 35 laps. You didn't have didn't have any time to relax. You just had to get with the program and go. So just to win the amount of races you guys won under those circumstances is impressive by itself.
Well, probably the closest, Dale, more recently that you had was in the heavyweight demon days. You guys would have 30 cars out there, and those races were 15 laps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you
had
had past
no-
2 or 3 cars a lap.
You had no
Yeah.
time to mess around.
Who was the brothers you raced against?
Pierpont.
Pierpont, yeah.
Who were they?
The Pierpont
Everybody
brothers,
remembers us.
We talk. You go back to episode 4, and you can listen in on all the fun he had with the Pierpont brothers.
I think them guys had racing tires that they raced on and different tires that they had in the pits. 'Cause I looked at
What,
that
for
car one
inspection,
time.
you mean?
Huh?
To go through inspection? Why would you say that?
Well, just looked to me like it was.
They run pretty good?
Yeah, they run very good.
It's not cheating if you don't get caught, is it?
That's what they said.
Listen, speaking of cheating, I wanted to ask you a question.
the
Tell me about that 400. Was that legal at the time?
Yeah, 'cause we had over 350 crank in it.
Oh, so it was a 377. Still had growing pains, I believe.
We were racing mostly up Oxford, but Richard Moore wanted to win them races at Oxford.
Yeah.
And we just never got it done. I mean, that's one of the disappointing things of my career was,
Did you do pretty well? Did you run well over there?
oh, that car was fast. I'm telling you, that car was fast. And we had a lot of motor trouble, blew a tire one time. It was always something that came.
Did you pick up a couple of wins over there, Teddy?
Just the heat. Only thing I ever won was a heat.
You
I
make a
did
good
13th
point.
on one of the 250s. That was the highest finish I ever had.
You make a good point. We won several heat races, 250 heat races, qualified in the front row, third, ran well, just couldn't win there. Taylor made a good statement at the Augusta show. You can be the best car there, the fastest car there, but that race and that track has as much luck in it to do well. You need as much luck to do well as any track you'll ever go to, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, we won races. We won at Arundel, I-95, Unity, Wiscasset. We just couldn't get it done in Oxford.
It's a whole different animal, for sure.
What made you decide to go to Oxford?
I don't remember.
You know, and I say that you raced economically.
Yeah.
You made a point of doing that.
Yeah, very.
And you
I
did-
run his takeoffs mostly.
But
Altissimo Mohawks.
But now you decide, this blows my mind because I can remember that car, and when I was reading your stuff here, it was all about Chargers and hobby. In my mind, I saw the Pontiac number 49 with slicks on it. So I'm glad.
Yeah,
boys and you-
that was a Tempest.
Okay,
Yeah,
is that when you went to Oxford at that time?
yeah.
What possessed you to do that?
They
Did
did
you
away
say
with
money?
the class I was in at
Yeah.
Wiscasset, I think.
Must have been in the 80s.
They did what?
Probably. They did away with my class.
Didn't they have a sportsman class there?
Yeah, they must have, but I don't know. I went to Oxford. It's closer for me.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as you said it because you were in Lewiston.
Yeah.
Did you do well over there?
No, I made money.
Well, that's doing well in racing.
Yeah.
That's probably better than a trophy, wasn't it?
Need money.
How long did you stay there?
I don't know. I really don't know. How long did I stay at Oxford?
We're at the audience here.
10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
10 to 15 years.
At Oxford?
I did.
No way.
Might not been that long.
Well, I was gone for so long, out of state. Did you ever have any growing pains to do the other stuff?
Oh yeah, we went to Beach Ridge, we went to Unity, we went to Speedway.
In a late model car? Late
No.
model sportsman?
No,
I mean, as much success as you've had,
I had a sportsman car that I ran at Unity one year when Wiscasset didn't open. And it was usually if they had a double header, that's when we went to Unity because it cost so much to get to Unity from here. And I had one of the old school buses cut down
Yeah.
there, and it cost a lot to run it that far.
oh, geez, I bet.
And so we'd pick the double header weekends and go up there and spend the weekend right in the pit.
They used to do a lot of that. So what was that, in the 80s? Or the 90s?
Must have been mid to late 80s.
Late 70s, I
Oh.
think.
Yeah. Unity, yeah. I don't remember Wiscasset being closed in the 70s.
It must have been late 70s, if anything.
Yeah.
I know from late 70s through the 80s.
I
it
built the
was
car for
sketchy.
Wiscasset, and they didn't.
What did you have for a car?
It was an Oldsmobile Cutlass body on it.
Hell, you two oddballs here.
It was
No,
cheap.
Cutlass is the same as a Chevelle.
Yeah, really, you could use the body and change the fenders on the front if you wanted a Chevelle. Did you run well? Did you do well?
Well, I did okay till I come up behind Steve Chicoine, and he slowed down for the corner, and I didn't. And Steve didn't like me much after that. He just,
Steve Sr., right?
yeah.
There's
you
people
wreck-
around there
wreck
that
both
Steve
cars?
didn't like anyway. He said he's going to, some guy, he said, I'm going to put him right out in the hemlocks.
Probably was me.
No, it's a guy from Bangor.
So let's I don't know if you were continuing a thought.
No,
or-
I'm
okay.
good. I-
I wanted to jump over and make sure we talked to Teddy about a certain race up at Unity. You had the chance to race against Bobby Allison.
Yeah.
When was that? Was that like 75?
82.
I'm sorry?
That was 1982.
Oh, 82? Yep.
Yeah, when Ralph had it. Ralph took the track over in 1980, I think.
I got a plaque here that Bangor Daily News. Can you see that?
Lift it up a little bit.
Lift it up, yeah.
Yep, right there. Yep.
Week after that, Bangor Daily News made that up for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Did you beat him, Teddy?
That was 1982. June 7th, 1982.
So tell us about that day.
That they brought Ralph Nation brought Bobby Allison there, and of course he was a little late getting there, but everybody was around him. They was getting the car ready. Nation had a car for him, and they let him go out and run a couple of laps. He went out and he spun out in front of the grandstand. I think he done it on purpose. But, made a big donut out there. But anyway, the race started. I was driving for Phil Seekins then. It was the old Bob Bellows car. Pete, you must remember that. Ed Bellows' father built it.
Was it a Nova?
Uh-huh.
Was it a Nova?
No, it was a Camaro.
Yeah.
Camaro, yeah.
Bobby had the Nova and Eddie had the Camaros. Yeah.
But anyway, and I started, I think, like 6. And there was Stan Reserve. They put Bobby Allison on the pole. Stan Reserve, Larry Pottle, and I can't remember who else was ahead of me there. And they were racing like it was the last lap. I mean, they were beating and banging on one another and pushing one another. I said, whoa, I want nothing to do with this right now. So I actually backed off. And sure enough, they wrecked. Allison got sideways. Someone T-boned him. Reserve was out. Pottle was out. No one's left. Harvey Sprague and I had the 2 fastest cars that night. And the race resumed. And I was all over Harvey. I mean, I kept the pressure on him. I could see him getting loose coming out of the car. He was getting loose. And more and more I pushed him, the more he got loose. Finally, I see the flagman give 10 laps to go. I said, man, I got to go. Yeah. And there were so many lap cars, I couldn't get a run on him, you know. And finally, I said, I got to go. 10 laps to go. So I drove into one as hard as I could on the outside of him. I knew he wasn't going to get out of the corner good. And I was gone. And we lapped the field. Harvey and we lapped the field. Those cars was left. But I don't mean that there wasn't anybody left that good cars. I mean, Christ was Davo was still in there. David Graves, Dana Graves, I guess.
Yeah, well, those are good cars. You know, Harvey was always tough. Dana was, so, you know, you beat some good cars even though the other cars were out. There's no doubt about that.
I won I thought I won. The race, they threw the checkered flag. And I come around and I pulled up to the flagman and I looked and David Graves was driving away with the checkered flag. So I went in the pit and Phil Seekins says he was so far ahead there was no way you was ever going to catch him. You know, right from the get-go, he got Clegg sailing, and times I worked my way up through traffic, I didn't even see him until I saw him carrying a checkered flag around. I said, oh, shit. They said, no, you didn't win that one, Polino.
Little did he know.
Yeah. Wow.
Quite a night. And Phil Seekins, he was all excited and about winning that race with Bobby Allison there.
Yeah. Must have been a treat to have him up there. I know he'd obviously run the 250 and such, but to have him at one of your home tracks up there in Unity.
Ralph brought him up there a few times, him and Bodine, I think Bouchard, and but Ralph had a Dillon car there at the time, and Bobby used to drive, and when he wasn't doing the cup deal, his other activities was mostly in a Dillon car on the short track, so I think that whole package just came together for him. It probably helped Ralph's effort too with Bobby in the car.
They were racing at Pocono. That's why Bobby jumped in his plane, flew up to Bangor, and they picked him out. So,
I know the statute of limitations is kind of over now on this stuff, so don't feel like you're going to get in trouble. But give us some of your secrets on maybe the gray area you stepped into to make your cars go fast. What were some of the tricks you did that?
Untouchable Mohawks.
New ones.
Well,
his father, tire place,
your
right?
Your dad
ones.
was a tire guy, right?
New ones, buffed ones.
my dad sold a tire business, and he sold these Mohawks. And they were 7 inches wide, and it was all you was allowed was 7. It's a pretty wide tire back then, you know.
Yeah.
So I took the first car. I wouldn't say I built a car. I put that car together, but it probably wasn't safe to get in. I took 3 rims over to my dad's, and one of his workers come out and said, what do you need? I said, I need 3 Mohawk Altismos mounted on these wheels. My dad come out and said, what are you doing? He didn't know anything about this. I said, well, I got a race car I built. I'm going to take it over his cassette and race it. He says, you're going to do what? He was death against it. So he says, He started to walk off, and he turned around, and he pointed his finger, and he says, you're paying for them tires.
I hear Joe saying that now, Teddy.
Oh, yeah, you're paying for them tires. The second year, boy, he was my biggest fan. After he started winning races, he couldn't stand it. And one of the things they done back then, they was retreading tires. And you'd send a tire up and they'd buff whatever tread was left off of them and then put another tread on them. You know how they retread tires. Well, these tires, I went over there 4 brand new tires on my car the first time I ever raced. Kenny Lunn looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I got no idea what I'm doing. He said, "Well, first thing I do is going to put, I missed it on my dad. My dad says, well, how come everybody else coming over here looking for tires, no tread on them?" Like, well, I don't know. I guess their father don't own a tire shop. So we would send brand new tires up to Portland, and they would buff them, brand new tire, and they'd buff it from nothing on the outside to 3/32 on the inside.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if they buffed them at an angle. I remember they used to do that.
They brand new tires, and we'd put them on there, and we'd usually run them.
That wasn't cheap.
Get a little heat in them, and then we'd take them off. Then the next week we'd run them in the feature. And then because them tires were brand new, they were stickier than something that had 50, 60,000 miles on it,
Vern, what is something that you typically would do? Give us some of the secrets.
I didn't have any secrets. Drive fast, turn left. That's all. Tires that he took off, because they were worn out, I put them on my car and run them. I picked them off a dump. I picked them anywhere I could. Untouchable Mohawks. And
Resourceful.
Firestone 500.
Firestone 500, yeah.
The Sanford and Son special.
Huh?
Sanford and Son special.
Yeah.
We could probably do a whole show on some of the stuff that you've done, couldn't we?
Didn't do anything.
He's not going to tell you. Listen,
It wasn't me, I wasn't there.
You've got feathers sticking
Yeah.
out of your mouth there, Dale.
he's still racing. He's not going to tell you anything.
That's right.
Give us a little something anyways.
Yeah.
Stan Meserve told me, unless you think you're smarter than GM, don't mess with that Camaro clip, because they're 85% perfect from the factory. And I've done that all my life, and I've left them right alone. Everybody does all kinds of stuff to these Camaro clips. I don't touch them.
Stan was that smart, and he makes a good point. I spent a lot of time around Jack Ingram, helping him. Before everything got tremendous, everything was fabricated. A lot of stuff was still factory stuff, and that used to be his statement when people would change it. He said if the factory thought it should be different, it would have been different before we ever saw it.
Yep.
That was his belief.
Yeah.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
I don't touch them. Everybody thinks we get a secret.
Yeah, but the
That's
factory ain't
that's
going
our
around
secret.
circles.
Well, that is a good secret, really.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
They tore that 64 Chevelle down. I bet 15 different times trying to find something wrong with it. I remember one race that I'd won, and Wolf would say, "Well, we're going to check that car." I said, "What's new?" So we stand there on the racetrack, with the car and waiting to go in and get it checked. People in the grandstand started throwing rocks at me. I says, "Wilford," I says, "they're throwing rocks at me out there." He said, "Bring that car up here." He said, "You ain't got to put up with that."
I've been through that with beer cans and beer bottles.
Really?
Oh, yeah, in Virginia and those other places when I first got there. Or Yankee. I can remember I went to South Boston one night and ran 2 divisions. I won the first one. I lined up for the bush race, and the crowd was throwing beer bottles and cans at me. And make up your damn mind, you blank Yankee.
You talk different going down there,
Yeah.
Pete.
Teddy, what made you step away from it? I mean, you raced for like 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty short for guys back then. We raced a long time.
Well, I had so much other things going. I was a commercial fisherman, and
Yeah.
I just built a house, and I had a wife and kids, and I had to make a decision: either I was going to race stock cars or I'm going to go fishing. So I had a 50-foot fishing vessel built, and I just couldn't do it after that. I had too much time involved.
Some people learn faster than others.
Obviously, that's a great decision, mature decision, but it had to be hard with the success you were having to walk away.
I loved it, man. Pete.
Oh, hell, I miss it every day. I'm sure you do when people talk about it.
When, back in the 70s, I couldn't wait for Sunday or Saturday night, whatever race we were racing. And my cousin Bob Studley, he
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
I didn't realize that was his cousin.
I didn't know he was your cousin.
And I tell you, he was a better race car driver.
Yeah, he was good. I remember he did well.
But he was always breaking something. He was like the Buddy Baker of NASCAR. You remember how they said he couldn't keep a car together for Buddy Baker in NASCAR? Well, that's how but Kane Lund called him AJ after AJ Foyt.
Yeah, he was strong. I remember now that you mention it.
Oh, he's a good driver. But geez, he's always breaking something. Something would break and he wouldn't finish the race.
When you guys really got rolling, we were talking about it earlier. I was helping Dickie Dennis. You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
In the X car. And you, Dudley, what are the other names here? Obviously, Teddy, Morgan. There was one other guy.
Joe Catula.
Yeah, you guys had an incredible field of tough drivers, didn't you? I mean, I know there was a lot of cars, but there was probably 10 or 15 that were standouts here.
Yeah.
He had a guy from Richmond, Seegers. I can't remember his first name.
Al Seegers.
Al Seegers. Yeah.
Seegers, yeah, he was.
Harry Moody.
Yeah.
Harry Moody, yeah, that's Mike's father.
He asked me, you know, what I get enjoyment the most out of it, of course, winning races, but I met an awful lot of nice people.
Yeah.
I met people that there's no way I never would have known you, Pete, or Vern, or Neil Rene, Stan Reserve, Dave Darvo. I've called up Darvo when I needed something, no problem. You know, I needed a piston one time. I called him up, sure, I got one, come get it.
That's a good point. You know, we all competed against each other really hard. We raced 2 or 3 nights a week. But Stan would help anybody, Darvo would help anybody. All those guys would.
Yep, Stan come down to my house. When I was building that 64 Chevelle, Stan came to my house one time. And I still had the trunk floor and stuff in it. And he says, "You're going to cut that out?" And I go, "Nah, I don't know. I don't think so." He says, "Weight's as good as horsepower." Yeah. Oh, and that's stuck there. I says, As soon as he left, out come the torch. Got everything I could out of that thing.
Yeah, one of my motor builders had it figured out. Every 50 pounds was equal to 8 horsepower.
Oh, really?
Something like that. Yeah.
Who was
Those were good days back then.
Yeah.
who was your toughest competition? Who really made you really work for it?
Oh, that Joe Giroux and Philly Charles, they was tough.
Oh, I remember that name.
Early,
Charles.
yeah.
Charles, is that the one that blew up, hit his head there or something? In the tire deal?
I'm not sure.
Joe, that was Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's staying Joe Giroux.
Okay.
Yeah, Giroux was.
Joe Drew wanted me. We took Joe Drew and I and Philly Charles. Joe Drew wanted me to drive his car at Beach Ridge, and I said, "Sure." I'd been there once before and drove, but lost the right rear wheel. But anyways, geez, that thing hit. We were going good. We was leading the race, and back then they used to. You could stand in the pits. Pete probably remembers how you could pull in the pit.
Yeah.
During a regular race, and I told Joe, I said, "Man, this thing's getting hot." He's running till she blows. I says, "All right." And sure enough, she blew up with about 5 laps to go and was leading. They were good guys. It was hard competition, but they were good guys.
Yeah, I remember those names.
I got along with everybody.
Yeah. I moved around so much I forgot those names, but that was an incredible group of people down there at that time. Yeah, for sure. Quickly, we're all out of time. Why did you step down from driving?
My left shoulder went.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gone. Too much of this.
No, that makes sense.
left.
And have you ever officially stepped down?
I probably am now.
Just time, huh?
Father time.
Yeah.
Actually, I sold my last race car to Billy Childs last fall.
Yeah. Wow.
That was that Wiscasset pace car.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Mike Moody was a tough competitor too. He was still around when I was racing at the last of it. I built a
Yeah.
71 Camaro, the last car that I built for myself.
Yeah.
I owned 2 Camaros once and sold them all.
Yeah.
Never over.
We've overshot the runway, and we got to wrap things up. I'm going to turn things back to Larry here in a second. But the last thing we usually try to do is just give you guys a chance to thank people who are instrumental in your career, that really were a big part of the success you had. So, Teddy, we'll start with you.
My biggest mentor was Bill Bailey.
Oh, wow.
Be under his wing, boy. He told me things to do with the car, and we'd ride around the back roads with his cassette drinking beer, and he'd give me a lot of driving points. And he was always, whenever I was at the racetrack, he was there. You know, he was always looking over my shoulder to make sure I was doing things correctly. And he was a big influence on me, a big one. And of course, Neil Rennie, I probably wouldn't have accomplished half what I had if it hadn't been for Neil Rennie. And of course, Kenny Lund.
Yeah.
Kenny Lund was a good friend of mine.
Three great people right there.
Yeah. I knew some, Stan Reserve, like I mentioned before, Dave Darvo, Ray Penfold. I mean, them guys like that. No, I never would have known them guys.
Yeah.
And like you, Pete said, if you needed something, all you had to do was ask them. They might not tell you everything, but they'd give you a little nibble now and then, you know, do this or do that.
Yeah, that's well put.
Yeah. Vern, how about you? Who you want to thank?
Everybody. Billy White built my pipe. He welded the roll cage in my car.
Yeah.
So and
Floyd Weber.
Floyd Weber. Yeah, I pitted for Floyd and Billy too at one time.
Yeah.
Wilfred Cronk. I told Wilfred, I said, I was down there on a race day, and I was down there with Floyd Weber. I said, I'm going to build a race car. Oh, what are you building? He said, a Ford, Chevy, Dodge, what? I said, a Pontiac, 60 Pontiac. He said, why? They got Fords and Mercury's and everything out there running. Why would you do that? I said, because I got it. Yeah. And, it's earned its keep. I had $70 in it. Yeah, and later on, Larry Emerson helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's a big name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. They said he was a hard guy to race with. Probably was, but he never bothered me any.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Good
Except
people.
just beating me, and he did.
Dale, anyone you want to mention and thank that you might have missed on episode 4?
Got to thank Dell. I mean, he got me into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, Bill Bailey. I mean,
Yeah.
he was full of information.
Great guy.
Yeah, I had the first car I had over to was cassette. It had a motor in it that was unbelievable. It was because Bill told me what to get for parts.
Yeah.
Because there was a fuel injected 283.
Yeah.
It had a pop-up piston in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, too much power.
Yeah.
But,
Well, thank you guys. We got to wrap this up. But Pete, who we cooking up for one of our next shows?
I think we got Bruce Haley, John Lezart, and the legendary Russ Nutting.
That'll be a sweet one.
Yeah.
Russell's still around.
Yes, sir.
He's still crew chief, tech man at Star.
I don't know. He doesn't like to drive, but he still does
he
it.
helps out.
He still helps
Yeah.
out, and he's still very active, and he's good mentally. Teddy, great to see you.
Good to see you, Pete. Good talking to you.
I'm a little pissed off you're sitting in the sunshine and we're in the middle of the storm, but I'll get over it.
No, it's good to see all you guys. Good to see you, Dale, Bern.
See you this summer?
Larry, thank you for hosting us once again, and we can't wait to be back. We'll let you wrap up the show this time.
Well, I want to say thank you, especially to our guest Dale and Vern and my old next door neighbor Ted Polino, guy I shoveled a lot of bait off his boat back in the day. Remember those days, Teddy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, a long time ago. And you, Ken, and Pete, it's been an honor and privilege for you folks at home, for us at LCTV, to bring you these Vintage Races Roundtable. We've had a lot of fun. It's been a great 2 years. As Ken mentioned, we've had some great shows. I'm really excited about the upcoming year, year 3. March is membership month here at LCTV. Go to lctv.org and join be a member of LCTV. Help support these racing shows and the basketball and baseball and football and all the specialty shows we do here at LCTV. And it's viewership that, like you folks at home that watch these shows, that support us, and we thank you very much for that. So I'll sign off and thank once again my guest for today, and we'll see you next time, folks. Thanks for watching the Vintage Races Roundtable.